back to another Monday IGTV Unnamed cooking show. I am your host, Emily Schramm, and I'm so stoked you are here. I thought I would do things a little bit differently today. I was like the weird kid that would take the JCPenney's catalog or the Pottery Barn as an adult, restorative hardware catalogs, and I love kitchen supplies. Like, I just wanted a red espresso machine so badly, and we manifested that shit pretty hard. But for the most part, I just love cooking supplies. But I also know that there's a lot of limited kitchen space, and a lot of it gets bought and looks cool and it's not really used. And if you hate cooking, the last thing you want to do is spend a lot of money on cooking supplies. So I just thought I would put together my top 3 cooking utensils or supplies that I think everyone should have. And I also want to talk about cooking in general because I'm getting a couple comments about how they don't have time to cook. And I would challenge you to say maybe you should pull up your screen time and we can talk about having more time, because everyone has 5 minutes. I did it was a 3-minute cooking video 2 weeks ago. So you have time for 3 minutes if you have time to watch this video, which I'm so glad you're here, so don't leave, but you know, we all have time. So number 1, I have a weird thing with cutting boards. This is the weirdest one, so I'm just gonna start with it. I think that wood is gorgeous, and so for me, what can make me feel better about doing meal prep or cooking veggies or dicing veggies? And sometimes it just takes a really beautiful board. So I have 4 cutting boards. They're my favorite thing in the world, and this one was made from my best friend Jalen, and she made it for me, so it's super special. So I do think having something beautiful, a beautiful cutting board, they're just my favorite. I just can't say no when I see a beautiful cutting board. So that's my number 1. My number 2, even though you would think it would be knives, because knives are important to have, and it is so helpful to have sharp knives. Before we even get into like fancy chef stuff, I'm gonna tell you my favorite kitchen hack: scissors. Literally, scissors cut everything. So if you are looking at having a kitchen with all the utensils, I promise you it is more important for me to have scissors that work in the kitchen than it is to have a sharp set of knives. Although the sharp set of knives is incredibly helpful, and if you don't have them, you will get frustrated. But number 1, kitchen hack of the lifetime, use scissors. I learned that when I used to eat pizza. Okay, number 3, the most important. Is kitchen supply priority, is what you cook in. And I think I'm obsessed with cast irons, but hated them because they terrified me, because they look like this. You don't want them to look like this. People would say don't wash them, you can't use soap on them. So cleaning them was a pain in the butt, and I stayed away from it for a very long time. And then finally, my mom got them for me for my birthday. So it was time a few years ago for me to have my own cast iron selection, and there's a few reasons for this. Cast iron is the one thing that won't leach or get into your food over time. So most aluminum coated or Teflon or any sort of coating that is on the pans that you're cooking from, at some point will get into your food and then into your body. We don't need aluminum or copper or Teflon in our body at all. It becomes a really big issue. When you're looking at things like deodorant, it's the same thing. If we have aluminum in our deodorant, what that's connected to, more and more studies are finally explaining this stuff is very harmful. So how is it any different with the foods that we cook with, or the things that we cook with? So I wanted to share how to clean a cast iron, because this was what was the most frustrating for me. When you first get your cast iron, make sure that you season it. So all I did, and again, there's so many other people that do this better than I do, but I just take a little bit of oil, I season it. This is what they call seasoning. And then you take a little salt, and I just put it in there, because I took it quite literally that you needed to season it. And then from there, you leave it in the oven for about 2 hours. At 300 degrees, you're just letting it sit there, and then you can take a little bit of the oil and make sure that it goes all the way around. This is the exact same way that I clean it. So as soon as I am done cooking, what I do is I take it, I rinse it off, I add a little bit of oil and I add a little bit of salt. The salt is very coarse, and so it's really good as far as any sort of brush would do really well. If you have like a really thick brush that's not a sponge, get the season out, and then as soon as you can, put more oil in it with a little bit of salt, and that's how you're gonna let it sit before you use it again. It takes probably 10 times before the sticking stops happening, but don't get frustrated. It is so worth it. It will last you your whole life. And the reason I love it so much is that for a lot of my meals, I just do one skillet. And so taking a skillet on top and throwing it in the oven, or vice versa. For example, pork tenderloins, you start with pork in the oven, flip it in the oven, and then finish it on the skillet so it's nice and brown. So you're just using one pan. It saves time in the long run. That is how I clean it. Sometimes if I don't use a paper towel, if I have a leftover potato, I cut the potato in half and I do the same thing. So you can really scrub and get that yuckiness out if you have had a sticky meal. But it's so worth it. Get a cast iron. Those are my 3 cooking supplies and my rookie move with my phone. But if you have any questions, please ask. This is what the cooking show is about. It's for you guys to tell me what you want to see and ask me different things of what you want to learn how to cook. And I hope that this is slowly inspiring you to start cooking more, because we all need to do it. But even just smelling food while you're cooking is helping you digest the food you're about to eat. So it's a win-win in all regards, and I'll see you guys next Monday.